Hello, public opinion aficionados, and welcome to Rasmussen Reports, where we are now scrambling to poll on Kamala Harris more in the last 3 weeks than we have in the last 3 years. Now, of course, it's because she did such a great job during Biden's administration. Clearly, there's just no reason to poll on her. Well, actually, that's not true. Recently, we asked the question, is she better or worse than most previous vice presidents? And only 19% of the U.S. electorate said she was better, but 49% said worse. And only 12% of independent voters said better. And a majority, 51%, said worse. That is a really stunning rebuke. People thought she was not a very competent vice president, but now here she is running at the top of the Democrat ticket. And we're going to get into how she's been performing specifically as the Border Czar. Now, you can fight about whether she is one or not, or whether the right word is czar or czarina or whatever. But here's what the results say. Is the current situation with the migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border a crisis? Now, this is a question that we've asked a few times before. Believe it or not, the results previously have been much wider than they are now. And there's a couple reasons that might be. It could just be the summer polling doldrums, although I'm not sure that's a big of an issue because people are really jazzed politically right now. I think the other one might be a bunch of politically disengaged left-leaning normies haven't really been paying attention to the polls, haven't been paying attention to politics. And with Biden stepping out of the race, Kamala Harris getting well, she didn't get a nomination, but with Kamala Harris being the candidate and Obama endorsing her, there is a different mix of people responding to polls. And that's important because these types of events also change the mix of people who show up to vote. Here, 62% of voters said yes, down from 70% not that long ago, and 26% say no, up from 17%. So this is one of the more narrow results. It's really incredible, but still a majority of U.S. likely voters, 62%, say the situation at the U.S.-Mexico border is a crisis. Only one in four voters say no. Men and women is roughly equal, but believe it or not, it's 18 to 39-year-olds, younger voters, who say yes the least. A majority still, 54% of them, way less than middle-aged voters. This has been our most conservative segment of the population recently. But look at party. A plurality of Democrats say no. Now, one could say, well, there haven't been a lot of videos and reporting on the massive migrant trains. One could say that the Democrat presidency with an open border normalized it, but only 42% of Democrats look at what's going on in the U.S.-Mexico border and call it a crisis. Maybe they just want the voters. I don't know, but 85% of Republicans say yes, only 9% say no. And independents, and I'll tell you, this poll here, this data sample of human beings in America, is one of the more left-leaning samples we have had. Independents still by a 60% to 24% margin say the situation of the border is a crisis. That's really huge. We could go out a little farther right in the crosstabs and just take a peek at Biden approval. 27% of Biden's strong approvers say the situation at the border is a crisis, but 93% of Biden's strong disapprovers, showing that even with Kamala Harris running to be president for the Democrats, Biden approval is still where the biggest signal is in all of the polling. Pretty incredible. In March 2021, President Joe Biden assigned Vice President Harris to lead the administration's effort to control migration at the southern border of the United States. How would you rate the job done by Vice President Harris in dealing with the migration at the southern border? And the answer is absolutely horrible. Only 12% of voters say she's done an excellent job. 19% say good. 12%, keep in mind that, 43, 44%, maybe even 45% would vote for her now. So a combined total of 31% say excellent or good, 15% fair, 48% poor, for a combined total of 63% of the electorate saying fair fair or poor. Now, this does seem really bad, but I will say on the issue of borders, Joe Biden has actually gotten in the low 20s for combined excellent or good. So Kamala Harris is here outperforming some of the results we've had for Joe Biden. Again, maybe it's the polling mix, maybe it's the timing, or maybe it's that people hold Kamala Harris to less account than Joe Biden for the border situation. She does best among 18 to 39-year-olds. She does okay with minority voters. 42% of black voters say excellent or good. But Democrats give her a majority, 53% excellent or good, only 23% excellent, 19% say poor. Republicans, 5% say excellent, 17% excellent or good. Actually, higher number than I would have thought for Republicans. 74% say poor, but the independents are kind of polling like Republicans. And keep in mind, a lot of Republicans have fled the Republican Party. 8% of independents say excellent, 14% say good, combined total of 24%, but 52% of independents say poor. And geez, 70% of independents say fair or poor. Bad results. For the final one, how important will Vice President Harris's role in the Biden administration border policy be in determining how you vote in this year's presidential election? 40% say important, 20% say somewhat important, for a combined total of 60%, which might be high, but a lot of people ascribe importance to many things when considering their vote. And to be honest, compared to all the other issues, this is kind of low. And again, it could be because Joe Biden, in most voters' heads, takes the blame for the porous border, or it could just be because there's other issues at the forefront, most likely economic issues, although only 18% of the electorate says it's not at all an important issue. And let's go out to party here. 60% of Democrats say her role in the Biden administration border policy is at least somewhat important in deciding their vote. I mean, that's high because, again, fewer Democrats said it was a crisis than not. And only 69% of Republicans, that's really a low number. Would have expected a number in the upper 80s or lower 90s here. Again, I think what we might be seeing is the Trump-Biden dichotomy maybe transcends individual issues. 51% of independents say important, 23% say not at all important. I think if we went farther out right, we would see a little bit more of an interesting signal. People who said that the current situation with migrants at the border is a crisis, 55% of those people said her role is very important. Another 18% said somewhat important for a combined total of 73%. Only 13% said not at all important. But those people who said the border is not a crisis, only 40% say her role is important, 18% vary, but a clear majority said it wasn't important. And among people who rate Kamala Harris's job as Border Czar excellent, 61% said it was a somewhat important reason to vote for her. 47% say very important. But people who rated her poor, it's 74% who say at least somewhat important, 61% who say very important. So you're seeing a little bit of a dumbbell signal here. But her performance is more important to people who say she did a bad job. Now, these numbers might not stand out to you as much as some of the other ones we've run, but I have to tell you, with border being the number 2 issue among all likely voters, the number 1 issue for Republicans, the number 2 issue for independents, things like her record as the Border Czar and these horrible marks will absolutely have some influence in this fall's election. Did you see anything in there interesting that I missed? If so, please drop a comment at YouTube or Rumble. And while you're there, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. You're really going to want to follow us because you're not going to want to miss what we have to drop Thursday morning, which is our latest Kamala Harris-Donald Trump matchup numbers, which will include half of the results from after the Obama endorsement. And as a little bit of a teaser, I can tell you that Kamala Harris is doing better than she did before. but Donald Trump is still winning. Make sure you also follow us at Twitter at Rasmussen_poll, and thanks for watching.